the cage we build with our own hands. Welcome to the Soft Girl Era podcast, where we create sacred space for high achieving Black women to exhale, heal, and reclaim the softness they deserve. I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, pronounced Dole, say, like sweet softness whispered in French. And today we're diving deep into a conversation that will shake you, heal you, and maybe even set you free. I recently had the profound honor of interviewing LaTrice Green, a resilient Black woman, mother, and trailblazer who is turning her deepest pain into purpose. LaTrice is doing the work that changes generations, the work that breaks cycles, the work that saves lives. She's not just surviving. She's teaching the rest of us how to truly live beyond our wounds. She's creating pathways for Black women to heal from the unimaginable, to parent from wholeness instead of woundedness, to build legacies rooted in freedom rather than fear. And what she shared with me, what she's allowing us to witness today, is nothing short of revolutionary. So let's talk about something we don't talk about enough, the thing we carry in silence, the thing we think we've buried, but that shows up every single day in how we parent, how we love, how we protect, and how we distance ourselves from the very people we're trying to keep safe. Here's the truth LaTrice Green brought to the table, and it's a truth that will sit heavy in your chest if you let it. Unhealed childhood trauma doesn't just haunt you in your nightmares. It doesn't just live in your therapy sessions or your journal entries. It lives in the space between you and your children. It lives in the way you hover, the way you control, the way you can't let them breathe because you're still suffocating from what happened to you. LaTrice shared her story with me, a story that began when she was just 6 years old. Six, molested by her mother's boyfriend, threatened into silence, forced to carry a secret that no child should ever have to hold. And that silence, that trauma, didn't just disappear when she grew up. It morphed. It became hypervigilance. It became walls. It became a fierce, controlling protectiveness that felt like love, but was really fear dressed up in a mother's apron. And here's the kicker: we think we're protecting our kids when we do this. We think we're being good parents, strong parents. But what we're really doing is passing down the very pain we swore we'd never let them feel. Let me be crystal clear about the three most important things LaTrice wants you to walk away with today. Because these aren't just talking points, these are lifelines. First, unhealed trauma silently erodes the bond between you and your children. It creates emotional walls that feel like protection, but actually breed distance. You think you're keeping them safe, but you're keeping them out. Second, that trauma fuels control and overprotectiveness as survival mechanisms. And unless you confront it, unless you do the hard, messy work of healing, you will pass that cycle to the next generation. Your pain will become their inheritance. Third, and this is the one that should light a fire under you: healing is your superpower. It's not some abstract concept reserved for people with time and money. It's actionable, it's liberating, and it's absolutely essential if you want to build a legacy worth leaving. Now, let me tell you about some people who know this truth intimately, people who've walked through the fire of unhealed trauma and come out the other side with wisdom we can all learn from. Oprah Winfrey, you know her name, you know her empire, but do you know her story? Born into poverty in rural Mississippi, Oprah was sexually abused starting at age 9 by family members, including a cousin and an uncle. She ran away at 14, carrying wounds that would take decades to heal. And those wounds? They showed up as deep seated trust issues, controlling tendencies in her relationships, and a fear of vulnerability that kept authentic connection at arm's length. Sound familiar? But Oprah did something radical. She pursued therapy. She got vulnerable, not just in private, but publicly on her show, opening up conversations about trauma that millions of people desperately needed to hear. She practiced meditation, she did the spiritual work, and she confronted her pain head on. The result? She built a $2.5 billion empire, yes, but more importantly, she fostered healthier bonds. She became a mentor, a godmother figure to many, and she learned that healing prevents you from passing your pain forward. She revolutionized mental health conversations for Black women and normalized therapy in communities that had long stigmatized it. Think about that for a moment. A woman who was violated as a child, who ran away as a teenager with nothing but pain and dreams, chose to turn that pain into a platform. She didn't just build wealth, she built bridges. She created space for millions of women to say, "Me too. I've been hurt too, and I deserve to heal too." Then there's Tyler Perry. This man survived childhood physical and sexual abuse by his father and others in New Orleans. Starting at age 5, he attempted suicide at 16, and when he finally escaped, that unresolved trauma bred rage, isolation, and overprotective control that nearly derailed his relationships and his career. But Tyler did the work. He went to therapy, he journaled, creating the character Medea as a way to process his pain. He practiced forgiveness, not for his abusers, but for himself. And today he has a strong, open relationship with his son, Amon. He created a $1 billion studio that employs thousands of Black creatives. And he's used his films to share trauma stories that have healed millions. He shifted the narrative on mental health in Black media, showing fathers and mothers alike that healing is what closes generational gaps. Here's what gets me about Tyler's story. He didn't just survive, he didn't just escape, he turned his pain into a creative force that employs people, that feeds families, that tells stories that make other survivors feel less alone. He could have stayed bitter. He could have stayed broken, but he chose healing. And that choice didn't just change his life, it changed his son's life. It changed the lives of everyone who works at Tyler Perry Studios. It changed the lives of everyone who's ever watched one of his films and thought, maybe I'm not alone in this. And let's not forget Michelle Obama. In her memoir, Becoming, she reflects on how her father's hidden health struggles, rooted in societal trauma, created emotional distance in her family. She saw how generational overprotectiveness distanced her from vulnerability. And she recognized the risk of repeating that pattern with her daughters, Malia and Sasha, especially under the intense scrutiny of public life. So, what did she do? She pursued intentional therapy. She created open family dialogues. She set boundaries to heal inherited patterns. The outcome? Confident, close knit relationships with her daughters, and a global bestseller that empowered Black women everywhere. She amplified Black mental health advocacy, influencing policy and culture, and she modeled what healing looks like for professional Black families. Michelle Obama could have hidden behind the perfection expected of a first lady. She could have pretended everything was fine, that her family had no struggles, no wounds, no fears, but she didn't. She chose honesty. She chose vulnerability. And in doing so, she gave permission to millions of Black women to do the same. These stories, Oprah's, Tyler's, Michelle's, they all scream the same message LaTrice Green is bringing to us. Unhealed trauma from childhood violations doesn't just haunt you, it distances your kids. It amps up that fierce, controlling protectiveness we think saves them, but it doesn't save them. It suffocates them and it suffocates us. So, what do? How do we break free from this cage we didn't even know we were building? Latrice's challenge is simple, but it's not easy. This week, I want you to journal one unhealed childhood wound, just one. Name it, look at it, and then, and this is the part that matters. Name how it's showing up with your kids. Is it distance? Is it control? Is it the way you can't let them make mistakes because you're terrified they'll get hurt the way you did? and then book that first therapy session. I don't care if you think you don't have time. I don't care if you think you can't afford it. There are sliding scale therapists, there are community resources, there are ways. Because Black women, we are healers first, but we cannot heal others if we are still bleeding. Don't let trauma steal your legacy. Here's what I want you to feel right now, and what LaTrice wants you to feel: validated. Your pain is real. What happened to you was not your fault. And the way it's showing up in your life today, that's not your fault either. But, and this is a big but, what you do with it from here, that's on you. That's your power. That's your choice. I also want you to feel fired up, not in a surface level motivational speaker kind of way, but in a deep soul level way. Fired up to heal, fired up to do the work, fired up to break the cycle so your kids and your kids' kids don't have to carry what you carried. And finally, I want you to feel deeply connected to your children's futures. Because when you heal, you don't just change your life, you change theirs. You give them permission to be soft, to be vulnerable, to trust, to love without fear. You give them the gift of a mother who is whole. LaTrice Green is doing this work every single day. She's not waiting for permission. She's not waiting to feel ready. She's doing it scared, doing it messy, doing it imperfectly. And she's lighting a torch for every Black mom, every leader, every entrepreneur, listening, passionately reminding us that healing childhood trauma isn't optional. It's the bridge to unbreakable bonds. Here's the truth we need to sit with: the cage you're living in, you didn't build it on purpose. It was built for you by trauma, by survival, by a world that taught you to protect yourself at all costs. But now you have the key. Therapy is the key. Vulnerability is the key. Naming the wound is the key. And you get to decide right now, today, whether you're going to stay in that cage or walk out into the light. Your children are watching, not just what you say, but what you do. They're watching to see if healing is possible. They're watching to see if softness is safe. They're watching to see if a Black woman can be both strong and tender, both powerful and vulnerable, both a protector and a nurturer. And here's the beautiful, terrifying truth: you get to show them. You get to be the example. You get to be the generation that says the cycle stops here, the silence stops here, the shame stops here, the suffocation stops here. So here's my final word to you today: softness is not weakness, healing is not selfish, and choosing yourself, choosing to confront the pain you've been carrying since you were 6 or 9 or 14, that's not abandoning your responsibilities. That's fulfilling them, because you cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot guide your children to freedom if you're still living in a cage. This is the soft girl era. This is the sacred pause Black women have been waiting for. This is where we unlearn survival, rediscover softness, and reclaim the joy, rest, and freedom we deserve, without guilt, without apology, and without explanation. I'm challenging you today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. Open your journal, write down one wound, name how it's controlling you, name how it's distancing you from the people you love most. And then pick up the phone, find a therapist, schedule that first session, take the first step toward freedom, because your children deserve a healed mother, your partner deserves a healed partner, your community deserves a healed leader, and you deserve to be free. The cage is open. Walk out.